Peace Window, completed in 1995, commemorates 50 years of peace in the Pacific region. May I now introduce Jerry Cummins, the one who created and actually made all these windows.
When I first walked into this cathedral and first met Bishop James Foley in 1994-95.
The first window, the beginning, in Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was a formless void. There was darkness over the deep, and God's Spirit hovered over the waters. Genesis 1:6-8.
A black window, by its very definition, is a contradiction in terms, because windows let in light and blackness does not. The challenge of the second window was to make it as bright and as dynamic as the first window was as empty and void. The first three, now called pillars of creation in windows 2, 3 and 4, in themselves took on a heavenly meaning, in that the first one, in my imagination, looked like God the Father, large, towering, big, strong, authoritative. In the third window, the figure evolving out of the cloud of dust certainly looks corporeal, and it took on the image of the sun. And the third image in window 4 was a wispy little thing which, of course, immediately invited the idea that it would be the Holy Spirit. In a great sweeping diagonal is a photoionized band of hydrogen from deep space, and above it is a spiral galaxy which is evocative of the Milky Way in which we live. In the sixth window, at the top, there are drawn into the spiral long trailing arms of stars, one of which is equivalent to our sun. Moving down the window to the bottom quarter on the left-hand side is the first of the planets of the solar system, followed by Venus, Earth, and a little bit higher up, the red Mars. In the seventh window, starting at the top, there are celestial bodies now not being created but destroying. At the top of the window on the right-hand side is the Helix Nebula, and below it, on the left-hand side, in a big blue splash, is the Crab Nebula, both images of disintegration. At the top of the eighth window, the stars that have been the dominant theme of the windows until this point begin to become obscured. The clouds in the sky become more obvious. 3 meteors are burning into the atmosphere, indicating for the first time that there is an atmosphere forming on Earth capable of sustaining life. Windows 2, 3 and 4 start off with very large vertical shapes dominating the composition. They're swept down by the bottom of window 6 in a huge diagonal which sweeps back up again into window 8. And windows 9, 10, 11 and 12 then resolve themselves into 3 horizontal bands. At the top is the sky, in the middle is the land, and at the bottom is the sea. Immediately in front of the nose of the shark are the first fish. Until that time, all of the waters have been empty except for cephalopods. Bursting out into window 11 and 12 is a great array of fish in schools, in sharks, in barramundi, in tuna, just as window 12 concludes with 3 elements: the sky, the land and the sea. So window 13 starts off with 3 quite different elements: the geography, the vegetation and the animals. At the top of window 13 is a lovely, clear, joyous blue sky, immediately under which are the pink and grey clouds of the morning glory rolling across the Gulf of Carpentaria. In window 14 the theme of the emerging land increases, and for the first time birds are visible. And at the base of window 15, 2 marsupials, 2 wallabies, rock wallabies. For the first time in the composition, animals are starting to take on meanings and significances. As we move to window 16, the vegetation becomes more intense and takes on a distinctly forest look, beginning with a twisted kauri pine. On the right-hand side, there are 4 birds. At the top, the large carnivorous wedge-tailed eagle. Immediately under that, male king parrot, a large seed-eater. Below that, a tiny insectivore, the red-backed wren. And on the ground is the large flightless cassowary.
God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and conquer it. Be masters of the fish of the sea, the birds of heaven, and all living animals on the earth." God said, "See, I give you all the seed-bearing plants that are upon the whole earth, and all the trees with seed-bearing fruit. This shall be your food. To all the wild beasts, all the birds of heaven, and all the living reptiles on earth, I give you all the foliage of the plants for food." And so it was. God saw all he had made, and indeed it was very good. Evening came, and morning came, the 6th day. God planted a garden in Eden, which is in the east. And there God put the man he had fashioned. God caused to spring up from the soil every kind of tree, enticing to look at and good to eat, with the tree of life, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the middle of the garden. A river flowed from Eden to water the garden. Then there are heavenly bodies, and there are earthly bodies. But the heavenly bodies have a beauty of their own, and the earthly bodies a different one. The sun has its brightness, the moon a different brightness.
By window 21, the whole of the world has begun to melt. All of the colours from all of the cathedral, from all of the elements of the windows, are now drawn into one central point in the last 3 windows. One of the great aesthetic challenges was to find a fitting conclusion to these 24 windows encapsulating the whole of creation, paradise, paradise lost, and paradise regained.
What you have come to is nothing known to the senses, not a blazing fire, or a gloom turning to total darkness, or a storm, or a trumpeting thunder, or a great voice speaking, which made everyone that heard it beg that no more should be said to them. You have come to God.
The cathedral was dedicated to the Battle of the Coral Sea. With the 50th anniversary of the end of the Second World War only a year away, with negotiations with Bishop James Foley and enormous encouragement from him, the Peace Window concept was born. As you face Abbott Street and look at the right-hand window beneath the choir, you will see that the window is the wrecks of a battle fought off Cairns, and it is in effect a crucifixion window. It was designed to convey a feeling of mayhem, of destruction, of futility, of despair, and of hopelessness. By way of contrast, on the left-hand side facing the back of the cathedral, there is a resurrection window. It's a resurrection window because it is horizontal, it's restful, it's peaceful, and the implements of war have now become the home of nature, of fish,